But a lot of people in this niche, who do what I do not like Saberspark as a content creator. One day this guy will be talking about My Little Pony. Then, on another day, Saberspark will be reviewing literal animated porn. His thumbnails can be so risque that they look like they come from 2008, where people just put boobs on screen and call it a day. That all he can think about when looking at the stupid McDonald's ad, he's going on about breeding.
For me, for some reason, I can really go for a cheeseburger right about now. With a side of breeding, too.
I think this guy does not like Saberspark. Good everyone! Thank you one and all for coming back to part 3 of my MrEnter reaction, where now we're going over the part where he pulls out his grievances with Saber and some dirty freak called Mandopony. If that name means anything to you, yeah, there you go. Okay, let me explain why this part sucks. For one, he tries to expose Mandopony in this 10-year-old footage, when I honestly didn't see anything weird and didn't really care because that guy is already deplatformed. But furthermore, he really spends a lot of time spilling out about Saber. Some critiques are absolutely fine, like how inappropriate some of his stuff is, but this is before the KP section where he tears into her, as if this is more important than that. If you guys see that I'm missing my facial hair from now to when I record the video, it's because I was actually plucking my hair out one by one because I was so angry. I swear it's true.
Creeper fever. One thing that confused me about Saberspark's response video is that he didn't seem to bring up any evidence about the assault allegations specifically. Granted, he didn't have to because there was no evidence directly against him. However, the Disney vlogs do exist, and they're very compelling to this whole case. The videos are still up on AC RaceBest's channel. It begs the question, why wasn't this mentioned at all? Even if it's not a perfect alibi...
Again, I don't agree with MrEnter on this part, because even he himself looked through this, and he was like, okay, I still have no fucking idea, you know, if it's true or not. Like, why would Saberspark bring it up in his response when it would make like all the viewers, it would redirect all the viewers to this, and it would lead them nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. There's no point.
You just say,
and bear in mind, I mean, if your career is on the line, do you want to make like, you know, a short 20-minute response, or do you want to make like a fucking hour-long analysis of these vlogs? 20 minutes is way better. I promise you.
I was at Disney the whole day. It'd give a wide swath of the audience enough of a reason to doubt the accusations on merit alone. On top of that, for much of the day, Saberspark was with people, one of which was recording. There may still exist footage that was not used in the vlogs. I doubt it, but it is possible. Like, yeah, it's not.
What do you mean? It's been 10 years. Like, he's probably not friends with that person anymore. And furthermore, whatever SD card has that footage may have been lost, destroyed, or fucking, you know, rotten. So there's no more footage. What do you mean?
Perfect alibi, but there is clearly...
Like, listen, if you want to be charitable, you know, to like every possibility ever, that's fine. But this is stretching it.
Ammo here that he left on the table. I can't say why Saberspark didn't use any of this, but I might have a guess.
She's a born. Oh my gosh. So tell us more about your hair, Michelle.
Oh, this part. Okay, you know, guys, you know, if the name Mando, what was his name? Sorry, there's some name like Mandopony, whatever. If that name means anything, you know, you're in for a real treat now, because he's gonna dig into this guy.
This is Michelle Creeper. If that name sounds familiar, she was the voice actress for Apple Bloom in Friendship is Magic. She was born September 7th.
Yeah, I remember hearing about her from the KP interview. Back in Coping Steve's video, he interviewed both Claire and this girl.
99.
But now
so
in the present.
On November 2nd, 2012, she had recently turned 13 years old. Michelle Creeper's parents are mentioned in the vlogs.
Okay, I'm not excited for this. I don't like this part at all, because he digs into like some other person who's not Saberspark at all. And bro, he criticized them a lot when, in my opinion, some parts were iffy, but didn't go that far.
Know as well that Mandopony and the Creepers were all...
That was in Mandopony, you know. If that name means anything, you know, this section will be wild, but not that much. Sorry.
Also hanging out there yesterday, so we might, who knows, we might...
Also bear in mind, when I say that, right, I'm not defending Mandopony, because now he has some, you know, fucked allegations.
See some cameos.
But this part was like painful to sit through.
By some people.
But they don't seem to appear much on camera. However, someone else does. This man here. He walks in, and it literally looks like he's about to give Michelle a hug, and then they walk in tandem. This is not Saberspark. The shirt's different, and he's wearing a hat, but it's not Michael, Michelle's father, and he's not in the group photo that Saberspark took of the event, but he is in the vlogs, spending much of the day with Saberspark and the Everfree Radiocast, as well as Michelle Creeper, this 13-year-old girl that he is not related to. So, who is this man?
Oh, so he's trying... So whatever. Okay, so trying to paint this guy, Mandopony, as a creep because he's trying to like go for like a hug with her, and he didn't. Okay, we'll go back to that in a second, but like this is like a nothing burger. Like, bro, I watched through all of this, and like there's not much creepy stuff you could make about him from these fucking vlogs.
You're watching Everfree Network. You're watching Everfree Network.
Oh, he looks so young. Yeah, young Saberspark.
This is Mandopony, making very gross comments that you shouldn't be making about any 13-year-old.
Okay, I went back to that part, right? I couldn't hear like a single bad joke he made. I think the only thing I heard, right, correct me if I'm wrong, was that he made like a Disney Channel joke. That's it. Is that a gross comment? Again, I couldn't hear shit at all, but like there wasn't like any weird fucking diddy ass joke he made about her.
Yeah, you now have the creeper fever. Oh, I've had the.
And bear in mind, why is this being made now in a video about Saberspark and KP? Like, bro, who the fuck gives a shit about Mandopony? Like, oh, thank God, we're litigating this drama about Mandopony from 10 years ago that has like almost no bearing at all.
I've had the creeper fever.
I think the closest thing he wanted, right, to this was like trying to like paint Saberspark as a creep maybe for not calling out Mandopony because of this. But even then, some of these parts are just like a huge stretch.
Now I'm contaminated. Creeper facts. Michelle infects everyone. How does that make you feel, good sir? And so does Monique. And so does Michael.
Monique and Michael are the names of Michelle's parents.
So tell us more about your hair, Michelle.
This is all very, very creepy. Some people might argue that these comments aren't a big deal. Like, we're seeing more than is actually there. But I have...
Bro, I think that part is true, right? A 13-year-old being with a bunch of grown-ass guys, like 18, 20, whatever the age range was. But like, I think there's another story behind that. Like, they're not being with her, because they're creeps. They're being with her, because they're friends maybe, and also okay, I take that back. They're being friends with her because he's a voice actor in a show they fucking love. That's why I don't think they met like in a fucking chat room, and they lured her to a Disneyland place.
I have to ask you this question if you think that way. What the hell do a bunch of guys in their early to mid 20s have in common with a 13-year-old girl that they're not even related to? Yes.
Okay, good question. But that 13-year-old girl is a huge voice actress in a fucking massive show that these guys love.
She was an actress, a celebrity, and yes, they're probably all fans of hers. But like, there's a difference between meeting a person like that at a convention and, well, just hanging out with them for the day. And it looks like the whole Everfree Radiocast is just spending time taking it all in nonchalantly. It should also be noted that while I was looking for the video where they're on the river rapids ride...
In my opinion, right, this section, once again, is a nothing burger. You try to paint them as a creep, but like, it's a bit iffy, but like, it's just that, iffy, nothing else. Like, they hang around with her, because, like I said before, he's a huge voice actress in a show they fucking love. That's it.
Mandopony actually announces who he was. I learned that it seemed like both Michelle and Mandopony had appearances on the Everfree Radio channel.
And yeah, I think it's awesome. This is my first encounter truly with the creepers. Yeah. I got a hug. Nice. You got from all of them, even Dad.
Even the Dad. Yes. They're like the sweetest, most awesome thing.
I can tell.
Dude, she was a 13-year-old girl, not a Disney mascot. Yes, she was a celebrity.
This is wild, okay? So now, apparently, like, hugging a 13-year-old girl, like, as being a fan of her work, even that's weird. Okay, whatever. Again, I would debate that all you... Debate in the comments, if that's weird or not. But, like, in my opinion, right, I don't give a fuck about this in this huge, long-ass video.
I can't imagine any time where this would have been appropriate. Like, people may...
I made comments, on this video. Well, let me pull it up, actually. It's a bit embarrassing. I made a comment, like, after my first view and being like, oh, I enjoyed this video. I think some fatty parts were unnecessary, like the explanation of the timeline. But overall, I think, it was a good video with good effort. Now, watching it a second time, filming my reaction, I'm sorry, some parts were much rougher than I initially came off as.
Fucked up jokes about children back in the early 2010s on the internet, but as you can clearly see from the footage, this is not the internet. This is out in public, and the whole Everfree Radio group, at the very least, doesn't seem to be off-put by any of this. Now, Mandopony, if you don't know, in 2020, was accused of having inappropriate conversations with minors, cheating on his wife, among other things.
Okay, so now we're dumping that, but bear in mind, I didn't care about that. I don't mean like, this 2020 stuff. I mean, that footage from 10 years ago. Because two things, it wasn't even that weird. They were hanging out with her. iffy, whatever, but that's really it. And there's a reason, for them to be a fan of her, because once again, she's a huge voice actress. And, second of all, right, if Mandopony or Saber, wants to come out now and condemn that, that's fine, whatever. It was fucking 10 years ago. Jesus.
Once you hear the important stuff, it's pretty easy to see that this is basically undeniable evidence that Andy both sent and solicited nude photos from this girl.
I'm not saying that, because I want to defend Mandopony, because this next section is fucked. But I'm also critiquing it because in my mind, it's just not that much.
One contains a straight-up admission that Andy wanted to do Kaylee, followed by a completely unsolicited photo of his bare ass. Another screenshot, one of the most damning, contains a snippet of a
guys, if you wanna put us in the background, and play some Fortnite, fair enough,
conversation in which Andy straight up asks her for a nude photo, followed by him immediately telling her to keep it secret, and that Andy doesn't want anyone finding out about him sending her inappropriate photos. And even worse, in the next screenshot after that, he says, "It's probably wrong of me to be attracted to you, but I can't help it. As long as it's kept quiet and as long as you're comfortable, is that okay? And it won't progress beyond just flirt/lewd moments." XD been having marital issues, and that while he apparently still loved her, he hadn't been intimate with her in over a year and felt as though their connection was growing weaker, which of course is a completely reasonable justification for cheating on your wife with a high schooler.
While there was apparently an investigation that
still though, Mandopony, fucking disgusting, not gonna defend them.
Any sort of conviction, pretty much.
But in my opinion, right, again, I don't get you litigate this fucking old-ass vlog.
All of his associations distance themselves from him, and his fan base this day and age is largely non-existent. I probably would have created some distance too if someone I knew was making jokes about a 13-year-old girl infecting people. Mandopony would have been around 24 at the time.
Oh, wait, is that your gripe? He made a joke about, a girl infecting you? What does that mean? Is that a weird joke? No, I'm sorry, it's like just a joke, that's it. It's not that fucking, gross and disgusting.
This footage.
Is that your biggest gripe, that Mandopony was a creep back then?
You're wondering. So...
Fucking, okay, this is a very dodgy section for two reasons. Number one, I don't get the points made against Mandopony, and second of all, what does this have to do with fucking Saberspark? Like, it's guilt by association in the weakest form ever. Like, I don't give a shit.
Well, this is weird.
I think Saber should have called out Mandopony in this vlog from 10 years ago when nothing that fucked up happened at all. Like, this is just boring.
I think that most people would consider it weird, but I will state, there is no real evidence to how much Saberspark or any of the Everfree Radio people had to any of this.
Exactly, bro, what's the point of that? Being like, this part is very gross and iffy. However, I think Saberspark has some charitability. Then why bring it up then at all? Oh my god.
We don't know what anyone in the group was thinking, Saberspark included. All I can say is that I personally wouldn't be caught dead around whatever the fuck is going on around here. At the very least,
like
this is
what? Like what? I'm sorry, the two bad things, the three bad things were... No, sorry, three bad things, right? I think were weird was number one, him going for a hug and then, cancelling it. Then after that, going after another hug. And third of all, making an infecting joke. So when I hear infecting jokes, I think of zombies. Zombies, like a very weird topic to make near a 13-year-old.
Incredibly weird. However, it does seem to be part and parcel of the bizarre environment that Michelle specifically and many other child stars have grown up in.
I'm sorry, I might be eating shit. I might be eating shit in this part, but I don't care that much at all. I haven't seen anything that weird at all.
Probably been expecting me to talk about the Black Griffin stuff for this whole video. I have mentioned him a couple of times.
Thankfully we moved past that, and now we come to the Black Griffin stuff. And in my opinion, I think he has some good points, about Saberspark and Black Griffin. I didn't mind it that much.
As it is the one controversy that seems to have stuck to Saberspark's reputation. The thing that people seem to be aware of this day and age is that Gabriel C. Brown, stage name Black Griffin, has been accused of meeting his now wife Claire when she was 14 years old. They got married when she was an adult, and ever since then, this has been the target of suspicion and rumors, namely that people are alleging that Gabe groomed his wife. Saberspark himself stepped in and said that the relationship was weird but above board, basically, and it's known that he was at the wedding of Claire and Gabe. Now, I need to pick and choose my words.
Oh, is that him? Go back a second. Hold on.
Above board, basically. And it's known...
Oh, there he is. Look, all jolly, all happy, being at Black Griffin's wedding. Nice.
That he was at the wedding of Claire and Gabe. Now, I need to pick and choose my words very carefully here. Claire claims that she is not groomed.
I want to go back a second. I want to make it very clear. I don't like that defense for Black Griffin because, number one, he hasn't walked it back at all. And second of all, we have, public tweets between Gabe and Claire when she was very young, and he was, acting bizarrely around her. But even then, he'll still be like, oh no, he didn't reciprocate that at all to her.
And said that the relationship was weird but above board, basically. And it's known that he was at the wedding of Claire and Gabe. Now, I need to pick and choose my words very carefully here. Claire claims that she is not groomed. Michelle also vouches that nothing weird happened and that everything was essentially above board. If you've been paying attention to the KP story at all, Beckett from the channel Cope and Seethe actually got both of them on interview for them to give their side of the story of this whole thing.
And shout out to Cope and Seethe as well, because that guy put some insane effort into all of this.
Thanks. I do think that if you're concerned at all with the Black Griffin story, it is worth at least hearing them out. Also, so there's absolutely no confusion on the context of this. This is not a collaboration project. Beckett and my team did talk with each other and we exchanged evidence, but each of us independently had our own investigation. We reached out to separate people, had different approaches, that kind of thing. But I do see the videos as companion pieces, which is why I keep bringing up his video. Also, small detail, Claire is not Michelle. And the most...
No offense to MrEnter, but I would prefer that video over this one, because it feels more concise.
Weird shit I hear about seems...
I think Beckett's video was like more, to be like a retrospect on the whole history, an investigation of the whole history behind these people, like the Mandopony community. This video is more, about the timeline, and this incident. But like, even then, I like Beckett's video way more.
Occur around Michelle and not Claire. And it's Michelle getting these weird interactions with Mandopony. Now, I do know the counterpoints here.
Again, weird interactions. That's very broad. Weird interactions.
These girls grew up in a bizarre environment. There's clear footage of that here. It looks like Michelle is going in to greet this man who is not related to her with what appears to be a hug. This woman here, might be Monique Krieber, but, this is the closest time to seeing either of Michelle's parents anywhere in this footage. I've combed through it, and besides this one cameo, I can't seem to find them. As Mandopony takes Michelle around Disney, a man who...
Okay, in my opinion, right, it seems like it was a hug from, a fan to a creator. The creator is young, right? But I don't really get any weird energy from it. I'm sorry.
Years later was accused of using secret social media accounts to groom young girls. They clearly did not have a normal childhood, and things were normalized they clearly should not have been. There's also the argument that when grooming is successful, the alleged victim will claim to not be a victim. That is the goal of the activity, to make victims not feel like victims. There are plenty of stories where people who will defend those who have victimized them, not just in cases of grooming, but in examples of, say, abusive relationships. We've all at least heard of the story of someone who has stayed with a violent partner because of any number of excuses. Here is the reality. Even if the worst of the worst happened, Claire and Michelle are adults now. Even if the worst...
Okay, this part about, Claire being a grown-up now, I like this part.
The worst has happened. They have the final call and decision about what happens to them, especially without super concrete proof. And I use the word...
I agree.
Word proof intentionally. There is evidence that things are weird, but we still don't have a smoking gun, as it were. And I will be honest, most of the evidence in regards to Gabe and Claire is circumstantial. And, for the sake of argument, even if the worst of the worst happened, harassing Claire especially to quote-unquote get her out of her brainwashing is not going to solve jack shit.
I agree actually. Again, with something like this, right, with Claire and Black Griffin, is very iffy. Cause stuff, that could indicate grooming is there, but if a victim's not gonna if one of the parties, that you wanna call a victim doesn't want to be called that, then why push it?
It's really
which is why, in my coverage, also in my reaction, I called Black Griffin weird. That's it. Because I can back that up. However, if I call him a groomer, I can't really, back it up that much because the victim I'm relying on doesn't want to, get on my side or anyone's side, actually.
And some weird internet rando is not going to change her mind after a long series of decisions supported by her environment and her circle of peers. Especially when the standard bearer of the accusations comes...
Okay, go, if you guys want to know, go watch my my reaction to the... just go watch Cope and Seethe's video with the interview with Claire. Because she fucking hates people that call her a grooming victim. She despises it.
People like Brony Fan don't. Now, back to the matter at hand. Saberspark was within his right to defend Black Griffin. That is his right. Am I saying that he is right to do so, though? In my opinion, no. I want to get the order of events as right as possible.
That's what I like this part as well, about him defending Black Griffin. I think it's fine.
The relationship between Gabe and Claire starts publicly, and then people get speculative. Saberspark steps in, and he defends them. After this, there are a bunch of other allegations against Black Griffin. The Google Doc is written, and videos are made on Black Griffin. And if Saberspark stayed entirely quiet, to some extent I would understand that. We probably wouldn't be talking about this at all. However, in his response video, he does muster up at least the barest level of defense for both Black Griffin and Billy Bustup.
And launch vicious harassment campaigns against multiple online creators, such as Billy Bustup, Prince Whateverer, and Black Griffin.
Billy Bustup is an in-development
Now, see, now I would defend Billy Bustop, right? Because those poor people, they got fucked over a lot. I agree with most people, right? That they should have kicked out Black Griffin. But aside from that, these poor developers got fucked over from this drama. So I agree with, MrEnter, that he should have defended a bit. He should have brought Billy Bustop. However, Black Griffin, that's like a whole can of worms that should have been opened. Oh my
indie game that is being targeted because they have refused to fire Black Griffin. Now, my team and I actually went through the Black Griffin Google document as thoroughly as we could. And I will say immediately,
bro, I respect that, right? Because that Google doc is fucking massive.
Most damning allegations are, well, without evidence. Destiny even states that she doesn't have evidence. Now, whether or not you or I believe the
that's what, I know why, Saber brought up Black Griffin as being a victim of Brony's harassment, because they platform allegations with no evidence. They platformed Destiny when they barely had anything, and furthermore, bro, there was one allegation they platformed was it was a girl being groomed on Snapchat, and they showed one screen recording, and they showed no flirtatious nature at all. That's it. So I get why Saber would bring him up, as a victim of this. However, like I said before, there were some parts where Brony was right, she criticized Black Griffin.
Allegations.
That part could have been worked out if Saber delved into it more in response.
Look at where we are currently. There is certainly a lot of allegations, but quantity of.
I think it was do you want to make your 20-minute response into 30 minutes, or do you want to cut out that section and avoid all that hassle?
Allegations does not improve quality.
The latter would be much easier.
Quality of allegations. I'll be as blunt as I can. The Google document comes across as a dish gallop, a rhetorical technique where you try to overwhelm your opponent with a bunch of arguments, where the focus is not to win the argument, but make the arguments impossible to respond to. Now, let me be as clear as I can. Defending Black Griffin...
Also, again, I don't mind this video that much. Actually, there are some gripes with it, but once again, right, it's very messy. It goes over KP in Saberspark, and then furthermore, Saberspark's offense of... No, sorry, it goes over the allegations about Black Griffin, when that by itself is a heavily contested thing.
Still affects my opinion of Saberspark's character in the present day, and I'll tell you why. The most damning stuff is accusations that are technically without evidence. However, there are things that do stand that are clear-cut, like the DeviantArt comments, where Black Griffin was flirtatious with a minor who...
Okay, I think this part, goes on for quite a bit. However, he did cook in this part. He did cook.
At their age in the profile, and in many of the videos, and many of the tweets, he is saying creepy shit with minors present. And then there's this video where he's, doing things with Michelle Krieber. Once again, this underage girl that he's not related to.
Part 2 is a reception where you can say hi to performers and get signed CDs and photographs. Oh my god!
Wait, go back a second. Bro, that blew my fucking mind. Go back a second.
Part 2 is a reception where you can say hi to...
Bro, how the fuck is she carrying him? This is Miss Olympia. Holy shit.
Performers and get signed CDs and photographs. Oh my god!
Learning all of us from a marvelous turkey dinner.
Y'all better be buying the tickets because I need to get myself a new prop. If you want to expand your day, you can opt into other events such as
a comedy workshop with Saber and Race and us.
I can't judge the...
I agree with him, right? But I think the most damning parts, like I said before, were the tweets. Right, the wildest one I ever saw in my life was the one where Claire was being she was 15, she was under 18, right? And she's what's wrong with having a crush on an ugly guy? And fucking Black Griffin came out of nowhere and be like, who are you calling ugly? Why would you interject yourself out of nowhere in a weird way like that?
Intention or the effect on those around him? And I can't say that he's a criminal, but I can say that he is creepy. Very creepy.
Where's me in all this, huh?
You're not powerful.
I have a horn.
So do I, but I can't do anything with it.
Keep it in your hand.
And I could say that making any...
Yeah, I'm not sure how young she was in that clip, but that was a weird joke as well.
Comments like that, and I could say that watching any of this footage just makes me really, really concerned. I personally would not be defending this man, even if all of those other allegations are false. Saberspark has every right to defend this man. He may even personally believe that Gabriel did not groom Claire. He may even be right. We really don't know. I can't even say that he knew or believed of the additional stuff like the weird as hell comments in the DeviantArt messages. But in that case, it would be a level of negligence to not know that while defending someone, even if you have a problem with the story.
That's what I'm sorry, he breaks down, Saber's offense of Black Griffin, which I like, to be clear. However, why dig into his response in the beginning and then, go to KP, go to the timeline, and then come back to Saberspark? Take this part and put it over here at the end with Saberspark. if it's much better. Also, if you want to call the video the worst YouTube takedown of all time, then, you know, start up with KP and then, you know, slowly work your way through to, like, you know, your other issues with the defendant, the plaintiff.
First, you should at least know what all the claims are. To be as fair as I can, what Saberspark literally does in his response video is just say that Black Griffin is a content creator being harassed by Brony Fandom, but he does not state what that reason might be. Essentially,
I agree with him.
Downplaying the level of the scenario. It's fine if you believe that Black Griffin doesn't deserve to be harassed. And I reiterate, don't harass anyone, it's not going to solve anything. But I also believe that it's important to know why he's being harassed. And all...
I will say, I think my one issue with this statement from MrEnter is that he somewhat like downplays, you know, the issue with Brony Fandom. My main issue with them, right, before like all this stuff, right, is that they would platform insane allegations and then barely do anything with it. They wouldn't like, you know, dig up more evidence, and they wouldn't even like apologize for it if they couldn't like back it up more. That's what's insane. So I think Saber's like half right, you know, about like him being harassed by Brony Fandom. However, you know, at the same time, like there is some stuff that Brony was right about Black Griffin.
All of these comments that he's made are attacked.
Like once again, right, I think the best outcome would have been, you know, to cut out that part about Black Griffin. It's a whole nother mess that you don't want to address.
Attached to that. And whether or not Saberspark actually knew about any of these comments, any defense of Black Griffin, especially now, are attached to these comments. Even the most minor of defenses. And it's not like Saberspark or his team is above looking into dark stories, as much of his content is about hard-hitting pieces on dark subject matter and dark characters. I'd also be remiss if I didn't mention that I find the timing of Saberspark's
yeah, now he goes after Saberspark's, you know, style of creation, style of content.
Part of message convenient.
Where, like, you know, he breaks into his thumbnails. Which, in my opinion, I don't mind that at all. I think now looking back at some thumbnails, some of them are weird.
This is my own personal opinion, and it does not mean anything objectively. But throughout the spring of this year, the Black Griffin fires got a lot higher. The Google document is released, and 2 videos on the man are released that get some level of mainstream attention. Regardless of their quality and the standard bearers, the story is getting mainstream attention, and many people are publicly distancing themselves from Gabe. In the midst of all of this, Saberspark, in the month of April, lets it out that he's only got like 2 years of video making in him left, and is planning on retiring to start an animation studio.
Okay, this part, okay, I should remember now. This part made no fucking sense. Because like he's seeing like this statement from Saberspark. I think I got like two or more years of making videos left in me before I retire. And then like, he's saying, you know, oh, he's feeling like worried about all the pressure from Black Griffin, and, you know, sorry, the backlash from Black Griffin. And I'm like, is that really true? Like, if he wants to retire because of the backlash, why not, you know, retire like in a week or 6 months, not like fucking 2 years? I think he made this statement in earnest, you know, not to run away from the backlash. That just makes no sense.
In my personal opinion, I find the timing interesting. Especially because
he says interesting, right? You know, when like this backlash, all this drama with Black Griffin has gone over for 2 years. Like, if he wants to retire, why not retire immediately, not after 2 years?
Outside of his...
If it's that bad that, you know, he wants to like walk away, then just do it right then and there, not after 2 years. That makes sense.
Ever-free radio friends doesn't seem to have sown much goodwill with the cartoon community. Even ignoring KP, you might not believe this, but a lot of people in this niche who do what I do not like Saberspark as a content creator. I won't name names because no one wants to be in any part of this drama, but a wide swath of content creators find Saberspark to be a negative influence in our niche. Speaking of the Black Griffin thing, there is the thing.
Well, again, it's so wild to me that, you know, he broke down a Mandopony, where his name was, you know, and he brings up like in this section, which is mainly going after Saberspark. And I think that's wild because, you know, why make him seem guilty by being friends with Mandopony when you clearly showed that all those actions before, from 10 years ago, were a nothing burger. They just weren't that important.
Making content about predators in the animation industry while defending someone who is allegedly a groomer, or in some cases just not being open about everything you do know. That can be considered a level of hypocrisy. But even that is not what I'm talking about as to why many cartoon reviewers do not like Saberspark. I'll tell you what the big problem is. One day this guy will be talking about My Little Pony. He spearheaded Sleepy Time Reanimated, a project revolving around Bluey, a show for preschoolers. Adults watch both of them, but they're shows aimed at very young children.
Now again, I don't mind this part, Rex, you know, I like that he goes after, you know, all the parties, KP, Saber, and Black Griffin. I like that actually. Like, you know, my main issue with it is that it's very messy, going like all over the place.
And on another day, Saberspark will be reviewing literal animated porn. Like, not just adult cartoons.
Okay, this part was pretty funny.
But literal X-rated films. He finds out that no matter how hard you censor porn, you can't put it on YouTube, and so he literally uploads it to Pornhub.
It'll be on Patreon, Newgrounds, and Pornhub. Because, why the hell not?
Okay. I think if Saber has to make a response, right, he should respond, to the Black Griffin stuff and that part. Because why the fuck would you upload your animation review on Pornhub? That's wild.
Then he tries to link it in the description of a YouTube video, but he learns that that's also TOS. You can't link to porn either in YouTube. Doing stuff like this is how you alienate yourself from a community. His thumbnails can be so risque that they look like they come from 2008, where people just put boobs on screen and call it a day. And the man finds sex so funny or fascinating, or I don't even know, that all he can think about when looking at the stupid innocent McDonald's ad, he's going on about breeding.
For me,
Also, FYI, I looked into this, right, and I discovered that it's still up on his channel. Like, if you go to the short section, it's still up there. Also, what the fuck? How did 281,000 people like this? You're all crazy.
I can really go for a cheeseburger right about now, with a side of breeding too.
I get that the joke of much of his content is quote-unquote porn. It's not a funny joke, especially in this medium. Yes, adults watch animated content, and they watch videos about animated content. But we also have to realize that 13-year-olds also watch animated content, and they watch content about animation. Saberspark goes on to complain that YouTube is putting pornographic ads on his content.
Oh my god, that has to be the worst one.
And they watch content about animation. Saberspark.
Bro, oh my god, dude, that's wild. That is wild. Holy fuck, dude. You have Lisa Simpson. Oh, guys, look, it's Marvis from Hotel Transylvania. He's 100 years old, that's fine. What about fucking Lisa Simpson? What the fuck,
goes on to complain that YouTube is putting pornographic ads on his content. Geez, I wonder why. Here's a little tip for you. You can manually turn that off. YouTube gives us options of ad categories that we want to refuse. For instance, I do not allow alcohol and gambling on my channel because addiction is a sore spot for me. But if the porn ads are such
I respect them.
problem, go to channel monetization, watch page ads, ad categories, and here are the ones you want to turn off. You're set. I have problems with Saberspark's character. Does that automatically mean that he's guilty of sexual assault? No. But I think this is relevant, and let me put it this way. Saberspark used a video about his own allegations to say that there was a harassment campaign against Billy Bustup and Black Griffin. And he was so determined to do so that he didn't realize that Billy Bustup is not an online creator. Billy Bustup is a video.
Okay, this point, let me go back. This point is this is fucking nothing.
Determined to do so that he didn't realize that Billy Bustup is not an online creator. Billy Bustup is a video game that is developed by Giddy Goat Games, which I guess you can call the Billy Bustup team, but Billy Bustup itself is not a content creator. It's like calling Minecraft itself a content creator.
What a fucking idiot. He should have said Billy Bustup team. I'm sorry, I don't care.
And once again, Saberspark himself used the tweet of Brony Fandon't linking to a Google document that he did not write as an example of his harassment of Black Griffin. I am fully willing to believe that Brony Fandon't has harassed Black Griffin. The Brony Fandon't account is known to harass people that they believe to be a criminal or believe to be defending criminals. Bonk will likely harass me when he gets out of the hospital. Once again, linking to a Google document is not an example of harassment, especially in a scenario where actual examples were likely easy to find. I do see this portion of the video as an attempt to try and defend Gabriel. Saberspark.
I'll go back to a second. I don't think Bonk would harass MrEnter, because to be fair to him, right, this video is a bit messy, but he did criticize, Saberspark. So if Bonk watches this, they might like MrEnter, I feel like.
Words. I think taking this time especially to do this speaks to a larger problem. Honestly, it's not even a moral thing. It's a sense of pragmatism. For the sake of argument, let's say that everything levied at Black Griffin is false. All 100% of it, and let's argue that he's the most innocent, perfect man on Earth at the brunt of a bizarre, deranged harassment campaign because people want to marry Sweetie Belle online. A good chunk of the public believes that Black Griffin is a groomer, especially before Beckett's video came out, when Saber's response video came out. These people cannot seem to be convinced otherwise. They don't believe the alleged victims, Michelle and Claire, when they say that nothing happened. This campaign has gotten to the point where people are disassociating with Black Griffin publicly, and the people who aren't.
Yeah, I wanted to when I covered the Black Griffin stuff back in February or March, I should have made that more clear that some people are quite wild behind this. Some of these people that really hate Black Griffin, they're willing to call Claire a grooming victim when once again he does not like that moniker. Again, furthermore, right? Imagine being happily married and people online are fucking being no, you groomed, get divorced, run, get out of here. That would drive you insane.
Their own, true or false, people believe the worst in Black Griffin. So when you're the one in the hot seat, defending yourself from sexual assault allegations, even invoking the man's name at all, is just fucking mental. Let me put it this way.
I agree with him somewhat.
In a way that I think everyone can understand. Chris Hansen is a man with a ton of controversies and has lost pretty much all respect in all regards. He's a clown and he will be for the rest of his life. and you could find this through easily accessible dirt. However, with that being said, if I were trying to defend myself from predator allegations, the last thing on earth I would want to say is that Chris Hansen has been targeting me for a while now. And just detached from all of this, it's weird for Saberspark to still be defending Black Griffin. Here, in all places, this could have possibly been his very last stand. Like, it had to have crossed his mind at some point that this response video had a possibility of not working, a possibility of not turning the tides. With your dying breath, do you...
No, okay, I'm gonna be honest. I think the average, like, Saberspark viewer does not give a shit at all, or doesn't even know about Black Griffin. I mean, they probably know him, but they don't know, like, you know, the full drama behind it. I think, you know, it was an iffy point to bring up, but, you know, like, by him bringing it up, you know, did it ruin the video? No, I don't feel like.
You really want it to be a defense of Black Griffin? Do you feel that strongly about this man? Especially because, like, detached from around...
I feel like he's going very hard on him. Yeah, I agree with MrEnter, you know, I think his defense of Black Griffin is a bit weird, right? But I get, like, you know, a tiny bit from his point of view, why he would bring it up. Why he would bring it up, you know, as evidence of Bernie Fenton going after a lot of people maliciously.
Detached from the truth.
Because bear in mind, again, you know, to repeat myself, they have platformed insane shit and barely followed through, you know, simply, you know, as damage against his name.
Defending Black Griffin here is a boneheaded move. It reminds people of your biggest controversy prior to this. You can't logic anyone into believing your side on the Black Griffin controversy. And there are so
I think he's going very hard on him, but, like, regardless, I agree with him in this section.
many other points you could...
Like, bro, I like this section a lot, right? You know, I think it's very valid, but, like, it was preempted with, like, a random point about Mandopony, which I did not care at all for.
Could have gone to if you wanted to go after Brony Fandont, such as his associations with Wootmaster. Watch Beckett's video for that. And honestly, defending Black Griffin...
That person Wootmaster?
Here, it's not even a good defense for Gabriel. Like, what am I supposed to get out of this? Yeah, this guy who thinks Gabe is a groomer is coming after me, but I'm innocent, so that means Gabriel is innocent too. Like, why? Why any of this? I do think it's important to state the difficult situation that Saberspark is in his response video. He had the task of trying to prove a negative, which you can't do. Like, even with the timeline and everything that we found, he'd still have to recall things from over a decade ago. And even if he could do that correctly, without the gaps in the footage, it'd still just be his own word. And even if he did find the footage, people could say that it was altered or blah, blah, blah. You can't prove a negative. So I can get why he's kind of reaching for arguments in his response video. Because even if he was totally 100% innocent, you can't exactly prove that you didn't do something. At least in a situation like this, where it really is he said versus
I agree.
he said. However, I think
the structure he took in the response video was quite good. I think the two gripes I had with it was, you know, number one, the very broad statement that it was false entirely, and second of all, the defense that he ran a tiny bit for Black Griffin.
Say the arguments.
Aside from that, I like the structure, you know, of, like, exposing KP and Brony as being malicious.
He's reaching for are weird. Technically speaking, Black Griffin getting harassed by Brony Fandont doesn't have anything to do with Saberspark. It's a whataboutism argument. Like, think about it. Even if everything against Gabe is false and everything that Saberspark says about Brony Fandont is true in regards to Gabe, that doesn't automatically mean that Saberspark is innocent. You know what I'm saying? Chapter 6, Proving KP right.
Okay. Fine. Okay, so there was a segment about, you know, Black Griffin and Saberspark, and overall, I want to say I liked it a lot. However, you know, it was preempted, you know, a guilt by association point against Saber because of Mandopony. Aside from that, you know, I like the critiques. I think it was quite good. Like, bro, this video would have been, you know, much better, you know, for 2 points. Number one, it being structured better, like being, you know, KP, the timeline, and then Saber being way better. And third of all, some points were cut out because once again, you know, all that weird behavior with Mandopony, I didn't see it that well. I didn't really care for it at all. Very minor. So now, you know, my last reaction, you know, to this video will be the what's it called? Proving KP rep. Well, once again, you know, it breaks down the weird joke that Saber's employee made about KP and how that, you know, that really pissed her off. I'll watch in a second. But, you know, for a review of, you know, this chapter, it's called Creeper Fever. There were some parts I liked, like, you know, overall, like the previous chapter, it was quite messy. I don't know.